Yes, sir. No, I completely agree. He's more trouble than he's worth. All right, will do.
DrDisrespect has been permanently banned from Twitch.
And so, I must speculate, guys, behind the scenes, Twitch became aware of some sort of allegation or accusation that was severe enough to issue him a permanent ban.
When I was talking to Doc, he just said he was talking to Twitch to figure out what happened.
The way people are talking about this that claim to know what's actually going on, they make it sound like Doc was revealed to be the actual Zodiac killer.
Twitch. It's easily the largest live streaming platform on the internet, with millions of viewers and streamers every day loading up the site to watch creators' skillful plays, entertaining personalities, or just about anything else under the sun. Just about anything you can imagine, including sitting next to a pool, is content. Like, not even in it, you could just be next to it and it counts. You can even just sleep, and for some reason people will watch it. Streaming superstars have a lot of variety in what makes them an audience pull. Much like YouTubers, what they do and who they are is a huge part of their success, alongside hard work, calculated moves, and, well, luck. One of the biggest superstars to reach the tippity top of the Twitch mountain was cut off at the knees at the peak of his popularity, and that was only the half of it. DrDisrespect is one of the most high production streamers on the internet, and yet it's still just him in his garage behind a desk running it all most of the time. He's won awards, had major sponsors, and had massive collaboration deals. The most obvious and notable might be when he had a whole feud with WWE legend The Undertaker. It's hard to call this anything but next level for essentially an independent content creator. There was even a TV show in the works based on the character of the Doc that he was going to be a part of. While the Doc has a long history with YouTube and even a bit of game design experience, he has done some crazy stuff in his streaming career. For example, as part of a brand deal with a computer company, he actually took a laptop out on a boat and played PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds during the height of PUBG fervor while the boat was speeding around a lake. Now, it didn't go so well, and it's mostly because, unsurprisingly, Wi-Fi isn't exactly part of a lake's natural ecosystem, but it was still a funny stunt that was pretty entertaining, even though it was kind of a train wreck. Pre-COVID, Doc actually showed up to an NBA game in character and in costume. And over the course of the COVID pandemic, understandably, events couldn't pack the stadiums with the audience members that they usually would, which adds to the experience when you watch it on TV or in person. So many of these events shifted to using TVs or cardboard cutouts. Whether it be Guy himself or a fan doing it on his behalf, it's not uncommon to see Doc located somewhere in the crowd of these type of events. With multiple green screen scenes that he can activate, video clips, transition types, custom songs, and more, much like the DrDisrespect character would tell you about himself, there was quite literally no one doing it like him, and honestly today, there still isn't really. No disrespect to any other streamers, but this guy has raised the bar for what the peak is, and it's not going to be easy to reach him in that respect, which isn't surprising given how tall the guy is.
6'8". 37-inch vertical leap.
Guy Beam's character is an over-the-top macho man obsessed with himself and all his success. It involves a lot of references to his
Lamborghini Diablo,
his athletic prowess,
6'8", 37-inch vertical leap,
and his back-to-back wins at the Blockbuster Gaming Tournament in the early 90s.
When you want to talk about the two-time back-to-back 1993-1994 Blockbuster video game champion and true international video gaming superstar standing at 6'8", 37-inch vertical leap, ripped from head to tippy toe, veinier than I've ever been, with a slick daddy, ooh, that moist Ethiopian poisonous caterpillar on the upper lip, and the black steel that's dripping down my back.
Okay, moving on. In early 2020, Doc was on top of the streaming world after Ninja and Shroud had signed massive exclusivity deals to stream on Mixer in 2019. Twitch was now in need of a face and signed the Doc to a huge exclusivity deal of his own to make sure he didn't jump ship to another platform also. Unfortunately, however, that didn't last very long. It's done. Everyone knows now. There's no going back. Now who wants a wheatgrass smoothie? On June 26th of 2020, DrDisrespect was banned from Twitch for what most initially thought was a temporary suspension, as is fairly common on Twitch for even minor infractions of the rules. Unfortunately, over the next few hours, details started emerging indicating this was far more than a standard Twitch suspension. Doc's emojis were no longer accessible to subs, and his sons were shortly after also refunded. All this, and as far as we know, the Doc was not given any warning or explanation. Over the next 24 hours or so, most of the companies that worked with the Doc, either featuring him or sponsoring sponsoring him, removed them from their website, and in some cases like Discord, publicly ended their relationship with them. Slasher is an esports reporter, and he tweeted some very concerning messages, as did another person who apparently was a former Twitch employee with some still good connections to Twitch. Both of these people more than imply that Doc had done something truly terrible. Slasher, being very credible and understandably not wanting to release his source, combined with the other tweets, were enough for many to immediately be concerned with what Doc could have done. But if all Doc did was get banned, why did his sponsors drop him? As the next few days went on, most of Doc's sponsors had reinstated him, leading most people to believe that there was no actual inside information given to them. They most likely just broke it off with him because of the rumors. The sponsors, like the audience, were most likely just fearing the worst. The only thing they really had to go on was his past controversies and that last stream. The final moments of that last stream seemed very strange to some. Guy Beam, the man behind the doc, seems to possibly break character and mention thinking a documentary about a conspiracy theorist and his work was interesting, suggesting that his audience give it a look, then saying we'll get through this to his audience, then panicking and running away as his outro starts to roll.
I was watching that documentary on David Icke. Yes, Alex. Yes. I like him. It's either Amazon or Netflix. Little documentary on him. Pretty enlightening. All it allows you to do is just sort of like, you know, allows you to step outside of the box just a little bit. Whether some of the stuff is not true or not, whatever. I think the whole goal though is to wake up.
Okay, who's it?
I appreciate everyone watching today.
Who's it in the backyard? Who is going to be looking?
We'll get.
Really, like you said, we don't really know some of the.
Yeah,
We'll
I
get
don't
through
know
this
the
Champions
map
Clip.
very well.
I know it's a tough.
Because I don't know this one well.
Life's weird right now.
Yeah, look. Oh my
We'll
it did.
we'll get through this, okay? And
Hey, Christopher.
Dun dun dun! You better not taunt me. How dare you?
fuck.
Rumors started to spread that he was banned for supporting a conspiracy theorist or that he had committed a heinous crime. The end of his stream, being as he panics and runs away, actually was rumored to be a raid on his house happening, among even worse ridiculous rumors. Now, not everyone was disappointed or concerned with Doc's situation. Many people were actually happy that he had been banned, feeling that one of his previous mistakes should have gotten him banned already. Now, we know what happened, but why did it happen? It shouldn't be a surprise that if Hollywood as a whole suddenly said no more Patrick Stewart, people would want to know why. If some famous industry insider told you you'll never see Ryan Reynolds again, that's not where the conversation ends. There's a lot of people wanting more answers. Doc, much like just about any creator his size, has had a fair share of controversies, most of these being a few years ago. For example, during a stream in late 2018, he reacted to an odd sound, then announced that he had to end the stream. For some reason, 2 days in a row, someone had shot at his house.
Man! Just not finishing.
Gentlemen, I gotta fucking end the, I gotta end the broadcast right now. Someone shot at our house, broke the fucking upstairs window. This is the second shot. Someone shot yesterday at our fucking house. And someone shot again right now and connected with the house upstairs, right? You're driving by, right? You pussy!
Supposedly, the police claimed that it was a BB gun used to shoot out his car and upstairs window, even though it's believed that you could actually hear the gunshots happening over Doc's stream, and it would probably have to be a pretty strong BB gun to be able to shoot out a Porsche's windows. Back in 2017, Guy Beam, out of character and out of costume, announced that he had been unfaithful to his wife and was going to be taking an extended break from the platform. Then a few months later, returned with a full update to his stream setup. This return was more than welcome, with only just a few posts teasing his return in between, even giving his wife the character of Mrs. Assassin and featuring her with a large knife. Sometimes Mrs. Assassin will even show up on stream to feed Doc, and even more rarely, with the knife itself. When it comes to his ban, some people thought that maybe he cheated again, maybe worse, and maybe it wasn't consensual. The most popular thing I remember seeing people say on Twitter was that he deserved it because of a stream in 2019 where he walked into a bathroom while streaming at a convention. It's already understandably illegal to record in public bathrooms, so he was suspended from Twitch and banned from the convention. But he was only suspended from Twitch temporarily. After Doc's actual ban about 7 months later, many praised his being banned because of this stunt. The level of actual hate directed towards him is surprisingly high, especially given most of these people probably wouldn't bat an eyelash if someone was recording a TikTok TikTok or taking a selfie in a public bathroom, even though technically it's just as illegal. While these past controversies seem like the kind of thing that most rational people would not use against him now in this situation, a lot of people actually based new theories off of these situations. And in some cases, they were more ridiculous than you can imagine. Let's start with the cheating scandal. One of the biggest theories surrounding this whole situation was the idea that Doc had cheated again, or the woman he cheated with before felt harassed or assaulted in some way, and took it to Twitch. Then Twitch took action. Now this might sound like an odd assumption at first, because Doc cheated on his wife almost 3 years prior to this situation, so why bring it up now? And even then, that's a personal life situation between Doc and his wife. There's no real reason that Twitch would need to be involved. Which now brings us back to part 2 of that theory. The same woman he cheated with before, or a new one, was now coming forward with allegations to Twitch. At first, this sounds like a really odd assumption to make. Why would people assume that Doc was banned from Twitch 3 years after a cheating scandal because of that cheating scandal? It doesn't really make a lot of sense. If the woman he cheated on his wife with felt abused or harassed, why would she come forward 3 years later, but not to the police, not to reporters, and not to Twitter, instead directly to Twitch and nobody else? It just seems extremely oddly specific. Well, we're missing a little bit of important context here. Just hours before Doc was banned from Twitch, there was an article posted by TubeFilter. This article was going over the massive issues Twitch had had recently with sexual assault and harassment allegations against large streamers and staff alike. The article notes that about 130 allegations had already been made, and just a day or two before that, because of this wave of allegations, Twitch had announced that they were going to start permabanning people based on the allegations. Now this, to many, seemed like it set the stage just a little bit too perfectly, a little bit too convenient, that just days before you set this rule, then an article comes out exposing not only large streamers, but a member of their own staff, and then hours later, Doc is banned with no reason given, no explanation, or anything. So understandably, with all of that information, alongside the information tweeted out by Shannon Z Killer and Slasher that ended up in articles, well, a lot of people assumed that Doc must have done one of those things. And at the same time, a lot of this stuff seemed like red flags to many people, and they went the exact opposite direction, thinking that Twitch was quite literally trying to protect their back end. Some people believed that Doc was actually banned for a much more specific and selfish purpose. According to that same TubeFilter article, throughout June, an insane number of streamers came under fire, and Twitch's own director of partnerships was involved in it with his own serious allegations. Twitch instituted change to their policy about how they would handle allegations moving forward in extreme cases, banning with seemingly little to no investigation. Then just days later, Doc is banned without warning and without explanation. The theory basically being that Doc was banned as a distraction from the rest of the issues and allegations that were plaguing Twitch at the time, shifting focus from what is going on Twitch to what did Doc do and was Twitch justified. Now, while again, there's a lot of information there that kind of indicates, yeah, there's something to this. At the same time, Twitch has to know that if they just banned Doc as a distraction for this whole situation, there's a giant risk that they were just going to lump him into the pile of other allegations, and it would just make the whole platform look worse. It didn't happen, but that was a huge risk that they would have been taking if that was the intent behind this. Odds are, that was not it. So neither one of these situations seems all that viable to me. Now on top of that, keep in mind that Doc had a multi-million-dollar contract with Twitch, so they would have to void a multi-million-dollar contract and probably pay him at least half, I would imagine, to sever the contract early, and all that so that they could use him as a scapegoat. I mean, let's be real, it wouldn't have been as effective, but they could have thrown Hassan Bakari under the bus and they would have saved millions of dollars. So among a bunch of other issues with this theory, the contract itself seems to be one of the bigger ones to me. And that's not all we have to talk about with the contract. Now, a lot of the theories are a little bit more rational than the last two. Well, kinda.
Rich Miller, thank you for the $20 in Super Chat. Doc, the best and only get better. Much love, 25-year active duty, Master Chief Navy here. Yeah. Hey, Rich, imagine the Navy going in there and getting rid of you, huh? Just out of nowhere, and then bringing in 3 new cadets. Because you know what? They said, man, even though he's going to turn Master Chief, like that's a big, huge salary. Imagine that, Rich. Damn. But thankfully, that doesn't happen to you. You know what I mean, Rich? Whew.
based on everything I've seen. I've looked at all the internet's conspiracy theories. This one makes the most sense. People are suggesting that it is possible that DrDisrespect didn't break any rules. And you might say to yourself, well, how can that be? Twitch can ban anyone for any reason. It's in their contract. They get to decide what they find inappropriate or not. And with a guy like DrDisrespect, who has a character who is edgy, they could pick out anything and just say, okay, that's the reason and we're gonna ban him. Well, why would they ban him? That doesn't make sense. He's one of the biggest streamers. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Well, DrDisrespect was publicly saying that he had an offer from Mixer. Maybe that's true, maybe it's not, but he was saying that Mixer was, offering him millions and millions of dollars, and he was thinking about potentially going over there. And I'm sure that was used in the negotiations with Twitch to get that big Twitch deal. It's reported that, Twitch paid millions to keep DrDisrespect from leaving and going to Mixer. However, Mixer just shut down. And days later, after Mixer shuts down, they banned DrDisrespect. Now, why is that? Some are suggesting it might have been Twitch just doesn't want to pay millions of dollars. They paid those millions of dollars to Doc to keep him there, to stop the bleeding, to stop streamers from leaving and going to Mixer. And now that Mixer's not there, they don't want to be left on the hook paying millions and millions of dollars, so they just ban him. That voids the contract, and Twitch saves millions and millions of dollars, and they don't have to worry about the bad publicity of one of their big streamers leaving to another platform that would hurt the site as a whole.
One theory related to this was the idea that with Mixer shutting down, Twitch would need more money to be able to pay Ninja and Shroud to come back from Mixer to Twitch. Obviously, with these two guys being free agents again, Facebook or any other platform could offer them anything at any time, so Twitch would want to make an offer as quick as possible to make sure that they try and lock them down as quick as possible. From the minute that Mixer announced their shutdown, the clock was ticking on Twitch to be able to get together the money and make an offer to try and secure Ninja and or Shroud to take up the purple mantle again. Now, this one doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me either, because Ninja and Shroud both lost most of their audiences when they went to Mixer, meaning that they stayed on Twitch. They didn't go to Mixer. So there's no one for them to bring back with them. There's just a few users that went over with them by comparison to the majority of their audiences that stayed on Twitch. Now, when it comes to their reasoning for going back to Twitch, what were their options? What options were there left after Mixer shut down? And then there's Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Gaming. Facebook Gaming is kind of out of the question, right? There's nothing there. Both of them have successful YouTube channels, but they're successful for videos. And at the time, no one had really made a Twitch to YouTube move that was as successful as the docs ended up being. So YouTube, considering it lacks a lot of the features that Twitch had, seemed like a lesser option with more risk. So why make that move if you can go back to Twitch where you know your audience still resides? It's pretty common knowledge that for the most part, Twitch streamers and YouTubers, they have a little bit of overlap in their audience between platforms, but for the most part, they're individual of each other. The risk going to YouTube was much greater than going back to Twitch because they didn't know if the audience that watches their videos was going to watch their streams. And if they did, were they going to be okay with the lack of features? Because Twitch has a lot more features than YouTube does. That's just all there is to it. It's just true. So with all that said, Twitch was kind of an obvious choice. And speaking of obvious choices, we obviously have to talk about Doc's obviously bad choice to talk about conspiracy theory on his stream. In the very final moments of the end of Doc's Twitch career, he decides to basically shout out a conspiracy theorist, saying that he thought the guy's work was interesting, even if some of it wasn't exactly true, but says that it was basically just getting him thinking, then indicates his audience should look into the guy, look into his claims, and wake up! So the theory more or less is that he was probably banned for something along the lines of violating a behavioral clause in his contract. I mean, he was actively shouting out a conspiracy theorist who was at the time apparently banned from Facebook for COVID conspiracy theories. Keep in mind, this is June 2020. We're still only a few months into the pandemic. The only question really remaining would essentially be, would this be enough to actually violate the behavioral clause or some other rule that he has to abide by? And then you have the absolutely, completely absurd. For example, one theory that I saw floating around at the time but couldn't find for this video was the idea that Doc had to have been involved in drug dealing. That's why his house was raided at the end of his final stream. Fuck. There was multiple theories about all the ridiculously over-the-top illegal things that he could have been doing that caused him to get raided at the end of his stream, and that's why he freaked out as the stream ends. Now, I couldn't tell at the time, and I still can't exactly tell what's a joke and what's real. People genuinely seem to actually believe some of these ridiculous theories, and I have no idea what the truth was, whether they actually believed them or not. Now, one problem that I have with this theory is that Doc looks both directions. The odds are his room has one door that you use to enter, so if he was being raided, he most likely would only have to look one direction, right? Secondly, Doc does this all the time. Not necessarily do this to end a stream, freak out and run away, but what he does is he'll look side to side frequently. If something stupid happens, something ridiculous happens, he'll kind of look around like, did anybody see that? And then look back at the camera. Not to mention, my understanding is that Doc would have still had to wait for his outro to finish playing and then hit end stream for his stream to end. Otherwise, it would have just been a black screen or whatever was underneath of that outro playing. So he probably was still sitting there waiting for the outro to end and then hitting stop stream. I mean, maybe it was automated, but even if it was, it's not exactly out of character for him to act ridiculous like that. It's in brand. So while personally I wouldn't rule out the idea that maybe something did legitimately happen, I don't assume that at all, because he does stuff like this all the time. He's always doing things that are over dramatic. That's on brand for what he does. Now, the only statement that Twitch really gave at the time was that they don't disclose the reason for people's bans beyond the fact that it was for TOS or guidelines violations. So the statement implies that it was something he did on platform that got him banned, not off platform, unless it was something in the TOS or guidelines that he did off platform that somehow applied, which I don't think at the time was something they really did, banning people off platform. But given all the allegation stories that they were dealing with at the time that had to have taken place off of Twitch, it's understandable that maybe he would have gotten lumped in. It makes sense that people would jump to the conclusion that he was also banned for the same reason. Now, there's one more thing we have to talk about from Doc's final stream. Doc suddenly seems to break character and then get a little bit emotional, saying things to his audience like, "Don't worry everybody, we'll get through this. Life is weird right now." A lot of people's perception of this clip is that he must have known why he was getting banned, found out during his stream, and that's why he suddenly had a mood change. However, I'm not sure people were keeping in mind the fact that the United States was a very volatile place in May and June of 2020. Between COVID-19 lockdowns, where Dr. Disrespect lives in California, being arguably some of the strictest in the country, the riots and public discourse following the tragic death of George Floyd, and anything else that could have been going on in his personal life during this situation. Just like with every other theory that we've talked about so far, the worst case scenario was the first stop.
I appreciate everyone watching today.
In the backyard, who is going to be looking?
We'll get through this Champions Clip. I know it's a tough. Life's weird right now.
But in all my research, there's one thing that keeps coming up over and over again as sort of a pivot point for when everything became all about conspiracy theory and terrible rumors. Please pick up. I can't do this. Please pick up. Hey, look. I don't think I can do this, man. I thought this was going to be big, but I didn't think it was going to be this big. This is really bad. No, I mean, there's so much conversation about it. I don't know. Slasher's FaceTiming me, man. What am I supposed to tell him? I can't wait that long. He's gonna want an answer. Hello? Hey, buddy. Now this is a story all about how a guy's life got turned upside down. I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'm gonna tell you how the check marks are to blame for his despair. Guys, I don't know if you realize this, but there's really only a few people that are to blame for most of the fallout that happened to Dr. Disrespect. Check marks on Twitter. What a shock. Bad takes aplenty. From whoever Shannon Z Killer is to Rod Slasher Quid Pro Quo Breslau, they had the most impact on the situation by far. A single tweet from Shannon Z Killer declaring the downfall of the Doc, with zero information really. From my own sources, Doc is indeed done, and not just on Twitch. I know why, but I can't say. But this is serious. And this only 30 minutes after Slasher confirms that Doc had been banned permanently, and it wasn't for DMCA. Which gets even weirder when he goes on the Trainwrecks podcast.
And then Dr. Disrespect's wife has posted on Instagram 45 minutes ago, which if you really want to talk about it, that is, I don't even know actually how to process that. He doesn't say anything. All of this is happening. I'm not hearing great things. And then his wife makes an Instagram story. So for her to be making a post, which is pretty ambiguous, doesn't mention Guy at all. It might be connected to like what it is. Nothing comes out. Obviously, it's a very serious situation. Like I've been yelled at by his PR. That was really fun. That was a fun time. I had a great time talking to CAA and his PR. You know, I don't know. Given all that, the wife's Instagram post is, I don't know, really out of it doesn't seem normal. And considering the past history, I don't know if it is connected, but it just seems odd. Sounds like she's supporting the fan base.
Yeah, the one weird word is whether or not she's saying like my heart instead of our hearts or whatever, which made it sound a little like separated from herself, but that's getting like pretty like nuanced in terms of how you're reading the message. Some people have like interpreted that as, oh, like she's like whatever is happening is so bad that her and Doc are no longer together.
The attorney definitely ran through that, and he probably couldn't make any statement, so she asked if she could, and my assumption is that she could say something about my instead of our, because if you say our and then 100 other things are assumed that of how he feels toward that, and then so I'm assuming it's an attorney thing to why it was my instead of our. I
can give a little bit of insight. This was handled outside of trust and safety.
Saying legal dealt with it.
So this isn't connected to the reason at all, but this would be connected to the weirdness of her post, maybe. So whatever happened with him coming on the stream during the situation with his wife, of where he admitted that he had infidelity, how did that all happen? And why did that all happen? We never really found out why that. Did his wife make him go on the stream and make him apologize in front of anyone? We really don't know why that happened. That was kind of odd too.
But then Destiny interjects and gives him an escape rope, and you know what he does with it?
Again, I don't know if there's any connection. But
okay, so I don't know if Slasher is baiting right now, but one of the rumors out right now is that supposedly it was either a Twitch employee or a Twitch streamer that DrDisrespect had some sexual relationship with. I don't know if it was consensual or not at TwitchCon, and people are saying that there was some agreement that was made where they would keep all of that quiet if Doc came out and owned up to it on stream and took like a month break. But apparently that streamer now has gone back to Twitch saying they want to make a better deal, and Twitch was like, no, we're just going to get rid of the Doc. That's I don't know if Slasher's intentionally or unintentionally alluding to that, but that's one of the rumors floating around right now.
I really don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
But I'm not. Okay. I mean, I don't know. That whatever.
Yeah, he kind of hung himself with it. He said, no, I'm not baiting. No, I'm not. I'm just speculating about a story I already know the answer to. Slasher, why would you be speculating? Why would you be stirring the pot on stuff that you already know the answer to? Unless you were baiting, or you knew and really wanted to tell people, so you dropped a whole lot of hints and then crossed the line and didn't know how to get back out of it.
In terms of like, okay, so all that happened, she's been through so much. We have no idea how their relationship is, so we can't really tell, how supportive she. Because she's been all his videos.
What you're saying.
From people that I've spoken to, this really is being kept at the highest levels of Twitch and anyone involved in the situation. I've had more knowledge of the Ninja Mixer deal, like everything going on in that, than I know what the hell is happening right now.
So do you think there are going to be larger implications on the platform, or this is just a one-off thing that happened with something like kind of like a freak incident?
Depends what it is. This depends what the reasoning is. I mean, look, there is some chance this is some insane Facebook co-op. That's not what I've been told, but it could be some crazy go to Facebook, break the Twitch contract. Other than that,
it would be so shocking to time this deal around what's going on now. I can't think of a worse timing.
I think a lot of people were like thinking that it might not be related to everything that's going on now, but I think from what we're talking about here and the one topic that we're staying on, it sounds like in a way that,
Yeah, it sounds like it's related to other.
It sounds like it's related to all, right?
Yeah,
like, I haven't heard a possibility given where it might not be related to any of this. All we keep talking about is this.
Yeah, but none of us knows.
I gotta ask, Slasher, why would you speculate about the relationship if you knew why he was banned? Why would you speculate about something unrelated to the ban if you knew it wasn't related? Let's be real here. If Doc didn't cheat on his wife, if he didn't assault somebody, why would she leave him? Was she going to leave him because he played an 80s rock ballad from the Rolling Stones for 5 minutes on stream or something? Was she going to leave him because he got a DMCA? No. Was she going to leave him because maybe he said a word that got him flagged on Twitch or something? No. But you know what she might leave him for? A relationship issue. What would the relationship issue be? Let's speculate, why don't we?
Considering the past history, I don't know if it is connected, but it just seems odd.
Slasher seems very convinced during this conversation that Dr. Disrespect's wife is no longer Mrs. Disrespect. He's very, very fixated on the idea that she's cryptically saying, hey, thank you for supporting me, not my husband. I'm moving on. I'm leaving him. Goodbye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. I love you. Mwah. Later that day, Slasher tweets again, almost echoing Shannon this time. Look, for several hours now, I've been told from credible sources the reason Dr. Disrespect has been banned. However, due to the importance and sensitivity around the subject, I've refrained from going on it. I don't feel comfortable with it currently. Now, up until this point, Slasher hasn't really said anything to give anyone any ideas or put any thoughts in anyone's heads. However, this tweet carries a heavy implication that something extremely serious happened if Slasher is not willing to talk about it. I could be entirely wrong about that, but I'm just a clown with a check mark, so, you know, you gotta listen to me either way, right, Slasher? Because the ones with the check marks are the ones that control the narratives. Is that what it is, Slasher? I mean, he recently tried to spin this whole thing with Britanny Venti and Jessix, where he made some very poor decisions. Now, even though it's not directly related to the Dr. Disrespect situation, I think it might be important to Slasher's character, his ethics. While Slasher's reported on allegations many times regarding things like power dynamics and people that are involving their careers and their love lives together, intertwining them, he somehow wants us to believe that when he DM'd Jessix asking her to hook him up with Britanny Venti, it was a joke. He wasn't serious. He was only offering a job referral. They seem to be really stuck on the idea of a referral instead of an actual job.
In those same screenshots, you see him offer Jessica a job recommendation as like a referral, not an actual job, by the way. Oh, isn't it creepy that this guy is offering streamers jobs and organizations? Let me tell you, a job recommendation and referral is completely separate from a job in itself. The girl he is talking about, Jessie, is actually a local hardcore fan of the Florida Mayhem and well known to the organization, even further as to why Slasher would offer that up as a recommendation and referral. Why is this even being used? And you wonder why it's so hard to defend people out there, because all of a sudden you're either called a simp or a loser by Leafy, which is incredible, right? That's disheartening to really hear. Or they just try and make up evidence about things that have no relevance to the point you're trying to make and turn it against you and involve esports organizations and try to really, really harm your career based off some DMs, which I don't think are really that bad. Overall context, yeah, you nitpick a few words here and there, probably not the best way to go about approaching people in the wording used.
Even though his influence in the industry doesn't really change whether or not it was an actual job or a referral, it's still a matter of I'm offering you something to hook me up with your friend. Especially when he knows that she's a big fan of the organization that she's trying to get into, that he's offering to hook her up with. So either he's a massive dick that offered to help her get her dream job as a joke, sarcastically, or he actually offered to help her get a job in exchange for hooking him up with Britanny Venti. Now, what's funny about this is that the idea that he was joking about it, not serious, he was joking, it was hyperbole, it was sarcasm, ha ha ha, actually kind of makes him sound a little bit more like a dick, doesn't it? Because then he's knowingly just poking him, hey, this is your dream job. Guess what? I could help you get it, but I'm not going to. But in the other case, now he's extremely creepy because he's trying to use his influence and power over somebody who wants this dream job of theirs. He's offering to help them with it to get a date, to land a date. A lot of this just doesn't add up, Slasher, especially given the fact that you never previously, as far as I can find, addressed it calling it a joke previously. Oh, it wasn't a joke. It was a stupid mistake. It was a stupid thing. I shouldn't have done it. And all of a sudden now it was a hyperbole. But because Tipster retweeted Keem posting the screenshots, you jump into his DMs and try and convince him not to run a story on it. Convince him that, oh, well, it's not really true. I thought you stood against people like Death Noodle spreading misinformation. So why are you okay with Keem spreading misinformation? But you won't say how it's misinformation or manufactured. But then you try and draw this line to make Tipster feel guilty for calling out Death Noodles and not Keemstar. When Keemstar is tweeting out a story with screenshots that have been verified as real, and you yourself won't deny them, but the only thing you can say is that they're twisting what happened. Well, you can't explain how they twisted it except to say that, well, it was a joke. I find it hard to believe that you really are this bad at correcting the narrative if the narrative was so drastically askew. The bottom line is all Slasher has done in this situation is speculate as to why Jessix feels this way and hasn't considered the possibility that she actually felt this way at the time and didn't want to ruin her chances in the business by like shutting him down. So he continuously tells Tipster and continuously runs this narrative that, well, they lied. They actually owe me an apology. It's actually them taking advantage of me.
Jessix and Britanny should be apologizing to me for what they've manufactured. He says at the very beginning of it, yes, I think that's fair, but they maligned me on purpose and directly worked with someone to defame me on purpose. Again, it's this ridiculous conspiracy theory.
There's a lot of pretty visible hypocrisy, contradiction, and narrative shifting that Slasher has done throughout this whole situation, this whole conversation. I'm sure Tipster is working on a video right now as I'm working on this one. It's probably out by now. And then I'm sure there's a bunch of other people, as well as Britanny and Jessix doing their live stream, which I will have linked in the description as well. I'm not going to make a standalone video to cover this. I think this is kind of important because it shows just how disingenuous Slasher seems to be able to be, because we're not done with his tweets. On June 28th, he quote tweets Dr. Disrespect's tweet about not knowing why he was banned, saying Twitch had never contacted him to let him know what happened. They still haven't told him. Well, then he says, food for thought. Twitch does not issue specific reasons to streamers for permanent bans. Method Josh was banned following a report of sexual assault, and Twitch never commented publicly or privately. Josh and Ice Poseidon were told other TOS violations. So Slasher, you're telling me that you don't think Dr. Disrespect, who at the time was pretty much the top streamer on the platform, was given a multi-million-dollar a year contract and a top partnership level? You don't think that he would have had a contact at Twitch that should have been able to tell him what was going on? So you boil this down to people like Ice Poseidon who get banned from the platform for other TOS violations? It seems like there would have been a lot of logical reasons to think that Dr. Disrespect should have been given direct communication by somebody at Twitch, given that he was, you know, about the only person at his level in that kind of position. About a week and a half later in July, he notes that Twitch and YouTube and all these other platforms really don't need to pay for contracts for streamers anymore. They really don't have to, because there's not really a benefit. These guys can go wherever they want, and their audience is probably going to stay where they originally were, based on how things happened when Ninja and Shroud left to go to Mixer. Although I do have to agree with him, Facebook gaming is kind of a nonsense platform to even bother trying. And then he replies to somebody saying that Dr. Disrespect's ban is unrelated to what he's talking about. Twitch most likely had to pay most of, if not all of, his contract to him because of the way the contract would have ended. And then on July 13th, he responds to a clip going around of timthetatman being given a donation by somebody claiming to be Dr. Disrespect, claiming that this was not Dr. Disrespect, and Dr. Disrespect had not been in contact with either Nick Mercs or timthetatman since he was banned. And as far as he knew, no other streamer had been in contact with Doc either, and noting that Doc had never returned his request for comment. I wonder how he actually approached Doc in DMs. I wonder if he actually just sent him part of an allegation or something like that, asking him like, would you like to comment on this? I wonder if that's what he did, if that's why Doc didn't respond. We don't get any context as to how he reached out for comment. I have no idea. I don't know how Slasher reaches out for comment about things, but what would he reach out for comment for, aside from like, hey, so you're banned, huh? Funny thing, isn't it? What are your thoughts? What's there to comment on? I'm unemployed. And I gotta agree, it was kind of a bad move to say just about anything before you had anything solid that you could share, given that you knew people are gonna want to know what happened to Doc. On top of that, Slasher, I gotta wonder, how do you know that Dr. Disrespect and timthetatman and Nick Mercs weren't in conversation? How do you know he wasn't talking to any streamers? How do you know any of that? Did they confirm that with you? I mean, you said he hadn't talked to timthetatman, but timthetatman himself said on live stream within a few days of the ban that he had just talked to him and that he was working on figuring out what happened and how to move forward.
Yeah, I don't know, chat. When I was talking to Doc, he just said, all he said was he was talking to Twitch to figure out what happened. That was all he said to me, was like, when I messaged him, I was like, what's going on? He goes, I don't know. I'm talking to Twitch. That's all he told me. So I don't know anything other than that.
I don't know how he would confirm that.
So I gotta wonder, Slasher, did you just not know that clip existed? Am I misunderstanding your phrasing? Like, what exactly did you mean by none of his friends have spoken to him since the ban, when there's video footage of one of them saying they had spoken to him since he was banned? Just to be absolutely clear, where did you get that information from? But then just 3 days later, Slasher goes off about how these journalists were selling out by going to CAA and doing these puff pieces for Dr. Disrespect. Oh, this is a lose for journalism. All right, Slasher Jones, is it possible you were just mad because these articles kind of made him look a little bit more favorable, and you were one of the people that jumped on the grenade of he did something horrible? Is it possible at all that you were just a little bit mad bad that these articles kind of made you look bad? Oh, there's no new information in the articles. There's no new information. Wah. Guess what? You didn't have any information you were sharing that was new either. How dare anyone let Dr. Disrespect do a PR tour? How dare they let him talk to people? Why wasn't the interview with me? Then, interestingly, in 2021, making this condescending remark about Dr. Disrespect fans not being able to think critically, not being able to understand the important conversation. I gotta ask, Slasher, what was that all about? Why was that? You know, I guess the thing that bothers me the most here is that Slasher is supposedly some well-respected journalist, but at the same time, he's starting to look more and more as time goes on like just another verified checkmark clown on Twitter. I can't help but wonder, is that just how it's always been and we never noticed? Is that the reality we never picked up on? If it was true, if he and Shannon were right, if they were right about Doc, well then why is Doc still around? Why did the articles not do their job? I don't know. All I know is he's starting to look a lot more like a clown. Now, I fully understand the concept of keeping a source private. You need to protect them from the target of the information that they give you, as well as the public. However, what Slasher, among a few others, did was take a little bit of vague information that they felt comfortable stating and give a private example of how dangerous their little statements can be. Just for the sake of clarity, let's remember the timeline here. Information goes out that Doc was banned. Doc's fan subscriptions are refunded and emotes are removed. Then the harsh and vague tweets from Shannon and Slasher both go out and are sourced in multiple articles and videos. Then a few hours later, sponsors drop like flies. Then these little statements from these two people seem to have done more damage to Doc's reputation during this period than the ban itself. It's a very interesting example of the impact that one or two checkmarks on Twitter can have without a shred of evidence to show. Just a few offhand vague tweets nearly crippled a man's career because they validated the rumors in people's heads. Now you could absolutely argue that this situation in hindsight had nearly no impact on Doc's career long term because Doc's currently really successful on YouTube. But even things like collaborations are much harder to do on YouTube when you're banned from Twitch because you can't collaborate with Twitch streamers, at least not easily. And on top of that, imagine Doc was a smaller streamer. Let's say instead of getting 40 to 50,000 viewers a stream, he was getting 10. Off the top of your head right now, how many streamers can you think of that average about 10,000 people per live stream? Now imagine what happened to Doc happening to these streamers. Without Doc's level of fame and his dedicated audience, based on what we see happen to other streamers all the time, the story would have probably died in a few weeks and everyone would have moved on. He most likely wouldn't have gotten his sponsors back and lost most of his audience and career. In an interview in July of 2020, Doc said that they were considering legal action against Twitch, but lawsuits at this level are a very long process and it could take years to go anywhere. However, I think we can safely say that there won't be a lawsuit, especially given what Slasher said on Trainwreck's podcast about the order not coming from Trust and Safety, implying that it comes from legal. I think we can safely assume that Twitch probably has something behind the scenes protecting them on this, even if it was actually just a technicality in the paperwork. And not to mention, if Doc got most of or even a large part of his contracted amount that he was going to be paid, he would probably just lose money going into a lawsuit, even if he were to win. And at that point, what would he even be suing for? To get unbanned from Twitch? Twitch also has more money, so they can probably just delay the proceedings longer than Doc would be able to combat them, innocent or not. The point is, I don't think it would be financially worth it to him. And I think Doc would agree, especially given that when he finally did go live on his YouTube page, he basically had people staring at a gas station for a couple of hours, and that was it. He never even showed up on screen. A few days later, making an actual return to streaming, pulling about 500,000 viewers. While Doc might not be getting 500,000 views a stream, he is getting hundreds of thousands of views a stream and doing really well on his highlights as usual. In just a matter of days, it will now have been a year since Doc was banned. So where are we now? Well, we still don't know why Doc was banned, or like Slasher said, who was involved. All we really know is that a year later, he's still banned, and we still don't really know why, but he clearly does, and has indicated he can't say because of legal reasons. Yet even more reason to believe it's a contract dispute. Though he's not so cryptically given at least one explanation for what happened despite the legal issues, but who knows if it's bait or maybe his own speculation. Now what we do know is a newer addition to an old rumor, one of the most logical rumors going around, was along the lines of Doc violating his contract in some way by working on a deal to stream on a new platform, or even start his own with Ninja and Shroud. A Call of Duty voice actor said in an interview about 2 months ago that the word he got behind the scenes was Doc was banned for essentially lying about how much he was offered in negotiations with Mixer to jump ship with Ninja and Shroud. But only a few months later, Mixer was shut down. The theory being that Doc may have lied about having negotiations with Mixer, to get more than Twitch wanted to give him, and Twitch were spiteful and found a reason to ban him out of spite for lying to them. Now, Twitch have been pretty petty in the past for a variety of things at this level, so it's not impossible. For example, Ninja's Twitch channel after he left was used to feature other creators instead of just going dormant, which was a really odd way to use Ninja's channel. Even though technically, yes, it is their own website, it just reads as a little bit unprofessional and a little odd to do that kind of thing. So this, among other things, they absolutely have a history of odd and arguably petty behavior even at the top level. The big problem I have with this theory, though, is that Doc's deal with Twitch was announced in March and Mixer's shutdown was in June. Now, even if Doc's multi-million-dollar deal was negotiated and the promo was shot within a month, that puts the time of his negotiation somewhere likely in February at the latest, meaning there was about 5 months between Doc's deal and the ban. It's highly possible that Doc actually did have negotiations with Mixer 5 months prior to their shutdown, meaning unless someone from Mixer told Twitch that there was never a deal, Twitch would never really know. Or alternatively, some people have suggested that maybe Doc lied to Twitch about how much Mixer had offered him in order to inflate his value to Twitch and get them to pay him more. But even this ban theory doesn't make any sense because this is a very common business negotiating tactic. Just picture this. A used car salesman says that the car that you would like to get is not actually for sale because someone already purchased it earlier that day. But if you come up to a certain amount, they'll give you the car and they'll tell the other person to kick rocks. Oh, hi there. You'd like to put an offer in on this house for $50,000 less than I'm selling it for? All right, well, 1 second. Oh, sorry, I'm getting a phone call. Yeah, it's another customer saying that they want to pay full price. Let's put it this way. Negotiation is a lot like poker. You need to have a couple good cards in your hand, but just having good cards won't necessarily win you the game. You have to remember that bluffing is out there. It's really common in negotiation for both parties to bluff. It's common business to bluff a little bit to heighten your value. Twitch has absolutely been in business long enough to know that this happens and that they need to be ready for it. On top of that, Doc's got CAA, a high-level talent management company, and at that level, he probably has an agent as well that would do most of the negotiating for him. So if anything, I would imagine they probably did the lying, if anything. It's often the management or rather the agent's job to do the negotiation and logistics on things like this. Just like all the others, this rumor we really can't validate at all. However, even if we could, this would just confirm what many of us believe already. Doc didn't do anything all that bad and was banned to appease someone or to avoid a minor controversy. But Twitch seems to have kind of already confirmed that if you ask me. Quick side note, by the way, the Call of Duty voice actor that information came from is also a streamer known as Jeff Leach, who was also already banned quite some time ago from Twitch. Now, I don't know why somebody that was banned so long ago from Twitch would still be in contact with someone at Twitch, let alone at the level that they would know what happened to Doc if it's really being kept to the highest levels. Then ironically, 3 weeks after this rumor went wide on social media and in articles, he himself came under fire for debatably sexist comments that seem to have in many cases been taken out of context and weaponized against him. Coincidence or cover-up? That's a joke, by the way, just so we're clear. Just like most of the theories I've talked about in all of this, they're just fun fan fiction that would make the most likely boring reality a little bit more interesting. We probably won't ever find out what actually happened for sure, but most likely Doc won't be disappearing anytime soon either. And I don't think Twitch expects him to go anywhere anytime soon either. Doc's not allowed per Twitch's rules to appear on anyone else's Twitch streams or on the platform at all now that he's banned. Logically, this would mean that he's not allowed to participate in tournaments either that are aired on Twitch, and was recently even dropped from one. Additionally, he probably wouldn't be able to win content-oriented award shows like Top Streamer of the Year if the event is streamed on Twitch, because he would have to be featured. timthetatman was constantly collaborating with the Doc. They were supposedly good friends off stream. From the sounds of it, Tim is still good friends with Doc, but was asked recently an interesting question. Do you play with Doc off stream?
Hey Tim, have you ever considered to play with Doc without streaming it? It'd be banger. I don't think I can. Thank you for your 25. Stupid.
Now, to a lot of people, this sounds like Twitch told Tim that he's not allowed to play with that naughty kid in the back of the class, you know, the one with the lice, like some kind of paranoid parent or a really creepy teacher. And then, of course, and somewhat understandably, because it's Twitch, a lot of people jumped to the conclusion that this meant that Twitch was trying to control what Tim did in his downtime. Now, as far as I know, there's no actual evidence of any of this from any side whatsoever. It seems to be all just kind of speculation and assumption based on a few minor things, and then the obvious frustration and almost hatred for Twitch that a lot of us have now. The way Twitch's rules work seem to fluctuate day in and day out, so I'm not surprised that a lot of people don't trust this ridiculous platform anymore. I coincidentally asked in chat one day if he missed Doc, only to find out that the word Doc appears to be blocked in his chat now, making this initially seem even worse. But let's cool the jets again. Tim spends hours a day playing Warzone and most likely doesn't play in his non-streaming time. Playing Warzone is his job. Do you want to flip burgers or file papers in your downtime? No. Tim most likely isn't playing Battle Royale games off stream, given he plays them for a living. However, Tim and Doc both have YouTube channels where clips, highlights, and just straight up videos get uploaded all the time. I think the most logical conclusion we can come to here is that Tim doesn't think about playing with Doc off stream as anything but recording time. If Tim already plays like 6 to 8 hours of Call of Duty a day, why would he want to play it in his downtime when he's supposed to be relaxing, unless he's going to be making content like videos? Now, aside from Twitch's rule that basically forbids any banned streamer from coming back onto the platform, even on someone else's stream, there's only one thing I can think of that was a negative that really happened to Doc since he came back to YouTube: a lack of Activision or Call of Duty partnership. So it is possible that whatever information was given to Twitch was also given to Discord as well as Activision, but Discord didn't actually ban Doc, he was just removed from the partnership program, and same with Activision, he wasn't banned from Call of Duty. On top of that, Twitch themselves have been allowing Doc to show up here and there in these little sporadic moments. Now, all of this brings us to a very interesting point in time. As far as I'm aware right now, just a few days before the Banniversary of DrDisrespect, Doc is currently allowed to participate in tournaments. He's collaborated with people like Nadeshot and Snoop Dogg in the past since the ban, and they remained unbanned.
Man, Twitch really gonna ban me for talking to Doc in game? Ah, come on, bro. I'll tell you what, man. They banned me. I've been on here since Justin TV. They gotta make a decision there. No respect, no respect.
So even a guy like Snoop, you know, maybe he didn't know about the Twitch rule, but he didn't give a frick about the Twitch rule and streamed with DrDisrespect anyway.
He's apparently eligible for rewards like Streamer of the Year again, and there was even a commercial that was run on Twitch featuring the Doc. All of this summarized tells me that Twitch is not trying very hard to keep Doc off the platform anymore. So if he actually did the worst things that we are concerned about him doing, and Twitch is still letting him on the platform, then they're arguably doing nothing to stop what they initially were trying to stop. Now imagine some super serious allegation leaks, and it's confirmed that this is what Twitch was told about, and Doc had actually done something really, really bad. Well, then why are they letting him back on the platform through other companies again? Why is he allowed to be featured in an ad on the platform? Why are they allowing this stuff if what he did was so bad that they banned him to avoid the PR before anyone even talked about it? Now, all of this kind of points to some information I think is pretty relevant to today, especially looking back on what's happened. Doc was banned from Twitch. Why? Did Twitch actually care why he was banned, or was it a PR move? This indicates to me that it was probably just a PR move to get out in front of something they thought was coming. Or alternatively, whatever serious allegation was brought to them behind the scenes, they actually did care about. But whatever was supposed to happen after they banned him never materialized. Whatever was supposed to happen didn't happen. And so they just kind of said, all right, well, I guess we don't know anymore, and now he's allowed on the platform again in a couple different ways. Otherwise, why would Twitch allow him on the platform at all? Why would they say, yes, go ahead and broadcast things where you featured this guy that did something horrible and we know about it? Why would they risk that PR? If everything is a PR move for Twitch, why would they do that? But forget about Twitch. Twitch is Doc's past. His present is YouTube, and he's doing well here. He's actually managed to find some new people to play with, and he's actually elevated them quite a bit. Now, as far as I can tell, Doc is one of the top live streamers on YouTube, at least in the gaming category. And I think in the long run, he's going to be seen as lucky that he went to YouTube when he did, because I think that YouTube is making some decent moves towards the streaming game. With things like Super Chats already existing on the platform, and then on top of that, now they've added clips where you can actually clip not only streams, but videos as well can be clipped. It's really interesting, the stuff that could be coming to YouTube pretty soon. On top of that, because YouTube has the algorithm that actually plays in your favor, as a streamer, your VODs can go somewhere. On Twitch, your VODs just kind of sit there until they auto-delete or whatever you have them set to do. So in the long run, while it sucked in the short term, Doc going to YouTube may actually be more beneficial to him down the road. Now, I want to point out that Doc has also done a couple of cool brand deals since he came back, one of which being Rogue Company. Rogue Company, actually, he has a skin and a map that he himself supposedly designed for the game that is actually in the game. They had this whole build up over the course of a week where he was going to have to like design this part of the map in this amount of time and this part of the map in this amount of time, and over the course of a week or two or whatever, he actually did design a map supposedly that is now the map that is in the game. He also had this really interesting promotion with FanDuel where people could actually bet on what's going to happen in his games for like one of his streams. My understanding is that basically you went on the app, you bet on what you thought Doc was going to be able to get done in that stream, and when he did that stream, you would win basically based on whatever you got right, whatever you guessed right. It's kind of like guessing how many jelly beans are in the jar, you know? You're just taking a shot in the dark based on what you think he's capable of. And as far as I can tell, he's got about as many
actual sponsors as he had before. Look, if it wasn't obvious, I like Doc a lot, and I respect what he does, and yes, I'm a bit biased in this whole situation. But my bias basically goes as far as me hoping that there's not a skeleton hiding in his closet. And just so we're clear, I'm not saying with this video that he didn't do anything wrong. I'm saying that all evidence points to that he probably didn't, and there's only a matter of time until we find out, probably. The main issue I have and the main point of this video is how ridiculous this whole situation got, and seemingly was based on probably that he was believing in a conspiracy theorist, and that's what got him banned. That is the only thing I haven't been able to debunk. Like, he clearly literally did it. It just happened and then he got banned. I'm just saying that basically none of these theories that I've seen actually seem to hold up to actual scrutiny. In all reality, I personally don't even think it's necessarily the COVID thing. I think that's probably just an element of it, and it's probably the sum of multiple faults. The timing of the Mixer shutdown and the timing of all the allegations against Twitch streamers seems just a little too coincidental to me. So the most logical conclusion that I can come to at the end of the day regarding all of this is that Doc probably didn't get banned for something interesting. It was probably the COVID conspiracies and some kind of breach of contract with his behavioral clause and things like that. It was probably a combination of like 3 smaller things that no one really cares about now. So the only logical conclusion that I can come to personally about this whole situation is that Doc was probably banned to save face on PR because they were already dealing with a ton of allegations and he was spreading COVID conspiracy theories, and that's about it. I think it's like 5 different things that happened, most of them being small. The biggest one being he was spreading COVID conspiracies, and Twitch didn't want to deal with that controversy given that we were in the height of the pandemic, and that would have looked very, very bad for the platform. So they got rid of him to save face before people started writing articles about it, and also just had to void his contract because of it. On top of that, lesson learned when Ninja and Shroud left. They didn't have to worry about banning him and then all of his audience leaving. Well, I guess that didn't really work out so well for them. He still does really well. But when Ninja and Shroud left the platform, there was hardly any lost viewership. It really does seem like when you get rid of somebody from Twitch, their audience stays on Twitch for the most part and just finds new people to watch. They just don't stick with the creator and follow them off platform, which is honestly one of the reasons I'm starting to doubt Twitch as a platform, but maybe I'll talk about that some other time. So like I said, when all's said and done, what actually happened? Where's Doc now versus where he was a year ago? He's basically in the same position he was then, but he's got to worry and watch his back a little bit. And even with all these rumors lingering over Doc's head, he's still doing what he loves to do, still entertaining people and still having fun doing it. And in the words of the Doc himself, I would say he's back at the tippity top of the mountain. And it's up to him if he's only halfway up or not.
With all the technical difficulties and everything, this video took me about 3 months to do. I want to thank everybody that's been waiting all this time for this. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much to the patron saints for all the support all this time. So as always, a massive shout out to Panthless Gamers, Bo Blacks, Lady Zubat, UMB, Paul Wentworth, John Swan, Master Roshi, Jessica, Jackman Live, and Anonymity. As always, thank you guys for helping me to afford to do what I do.